The Lorax is a children's book written by Dr. Seuss and first published in 1971. It chronicles the plight of the environment and the Lorax, who speaks for the trees against the greedy Once-ler. As in most Dr. Seuss works, most of the creatures mentioned are original to the book. The book is commonly recognized as a fable concerning the danger corporate greed poses to nature, using the literary element of personification to give life to industry as the Once-ler and the environment as the Lorax. The Lorax was Dr. Seuss' personal favorite of his books. He was able to create something regarding economic and environmental issues without it being dull. The Lorax, he once explained, came out of my being angry. In the Lorax I was out to attack what I think are evil things and let the chips fall where they might. Plot: a young boy living in a town pays the reclusive Once-ler, living on the far end of town where the grickle grass grows. On the street of the lifted Lorax, to explain the name of the street. And the Once-ler narrates in flashback that he once arrived in a pristine valley containing playful fauna that spent their days among truffula trees, and himself began to cut down the truffula trees to gather raw material to knit needs a woolen-like creation advertised and sold by himself. From the first tree he cuts, emerges the Lorax, the region's self-proclaimed spokesman and superintendent, who warns the Once-ler against cutting down the truffula trees. The Once-ler ignores him and instead establishes a factory staffed entirely by his own relatives, to produce more needs. As the THNEED industry expands, the region becomes polluted, and the various species depart, the barbar loots first, in search of food. The swomy swans next, for want of clean air. And the humming fish last, to escape polluted water. These departures are shown to the Once-ler by the Lorax to demonstrate the extent of pollution. Annoyed by the Lorax, the Once-ler insists on biggering his operation. But even as he speaks, the last truffula tree is cut down, and the THNEED industry collapses. Soon afterward, the Once-ler's family depart, and Lorax lifts himself from the region, leaving behind a stone slab etched with the word "unless." The Once-ler, having related this story, realizes that the Lorax meant that unless someone cares, the situation will not improve. The Once-ler then gives the boy the last truffula seed, and tells him to plant it, in the hope of cultivating a forest to which the Lorax, and all of his friends, may come back. Reception: based on a 2007 online poll, the National Education Association named the book one of its teachers' top 100 books for children. It was one of the top 100 picture books of all time in a 2012 poll by School Library Journal. In a retrospective critique written in the journal Nature in 2011 upon the 40th anniversary of the book's publication, Emma Maris described the Lorax character as a parody of a misanthropic ecologist. She called the book gloomy, and doubted it was good for young children. Nevertheless, she praised the book overall, and especially Seuss for understanding the limits of gloom and doom environmentalism. Controversy: in 1988, a small school district in California kept the book on a reading list for second graders, though some in the town claimed the book was unfair to the logging industry. Terry Burkett, a member of a family-owned hardwood flooring factory, authored the Twax, offering a logging-friendly perspective to an anthropomorphic tree known as the guard bark. This book was published by the National Oak Flooring Manufacturers Association. Just as in the Lorax, the book consists of a disagreement between two people. The logging industry representative states that they have efficiency and reseeding efforts. The guard bark, a personification of the environmentalist movement much as the Once-ler is for big business, refuses to listen and lashes out. But in the end, he is convinced by the loggers' arguments. However, the story was criticized for what were viewed as skewed arguments and clear self-interest, particularly a casual attitude toward endangered species that answered the guard bark's concern for them. In addition, the book's approach as a more blatant argument, rather than one worked into a storyline, was also noted. The line "I hear things are just as bad up in Lake Erie" was removed more than 14 years after the story was published after two research associates from the Ohio Sea Grant Program wrote to Seuss about the cleanup of Lake Erie. The line remains in the home video releases of the television special. On April 7, 2010, Amnesty International USA commented in their blog on the story of the book that amazingly parallels that of the Dongryakund peoples of Orissa in India, where Vedanta Corporation is wrecking the environment of the Dongryakund people. Adaptations, 1972 television special. The book was adapted as an animated musical television special produced by DePatie Fling Enterprises, directed by Hawley Pratt and starring the voices of Eddie Albert and Bob Holt. It was first aired by CBS on February 15, 1972. A reference to pollution of Lake Erie was spoken by one of the humming fish as they depart. It remains in DVD releases of the show, although later removed from the book. The special also shows the Once-ler arguing with himself, and asking the Lorax whether shutting down his factory is practical. An abridged version of the special is used in the 1994 TV movie In Search of Dr. Seuss, with Kathy Najim's reporter character hearing the Once-ler's story. 2012 feature film. On March 2, 2012, Universal Studios and Illumination Entertainment released a 3D CGI film based upon the book. The release coincided with the 108th birthday of Seuss, who died at 87 in 1991. The cast includes Danny DeVito as the Lorax, Zac Efron as Ted, and Ed Helms as the Once-ler. The film includes several new characters, Rob Riggle as Villain O'Hare, Betty White as Ted's Grammy Norma, and Taylor Swift as Audrey, Ted's romantic interest. The film debuted in the #1 spot at the box office, making $70 million. The film eventually grossed a domestic total of $214,030,500. Audiobooks. 2 audio readings have been released on CD, one narrated by Ted Danson in the United States and one narrated by Rick Mayall in the United Kingdom. See also, Political messages of Dr. Seuss references.